Hey, it's me, MLB. It is a new book, y'all. Just quiet the feral screeching for a second there. I know you've seen the thumbnail, so you know who it is. I just want to take a second to acknowledge the Denki stands. You've been waiting so very patiently for him, and I can't thank you enough for being so steadfast in your wait. I would like to pay homage to the fans, past, present, and emerging, and pray that this book does him justice, so that the wait wasn't all in vain. The female listener in this story is part Faerie, and I know that many books have them portrayed in different lights, so in this book there will be a slightly different race of Faerie. It will be explained as we go, but just know that I've taken a little creative license in the world building around the fairies in the MHA world, so none of these are real fairy races. This is just made up by me. The other thing I wanted to mention is that in previous stories I've had a few of you say, MLB, are you allergic to happiness? Why are all of the parents in your story so nasty? You never have any nice parents. Well, I took that as a personal challenge, so the parents in this story are nothing but lovely and sweet, so you can be rest assured there's no hidden nasties here. The other comment that challenged me was the person who said that they could never find a story where there wasn't some kind of bad tension at some point between listener and their love interest. So this story has zero tension between Denki and female listener. They don't have any fights or misunderstandings. It's just very sweet, diabetes-inducing story about two people getting together. So without further ado, here is the first chapter of Cute Little Love Letters, and this one is titled Pedigree. You entered through the large iron gates, looking around with wide eyes as you watched other students enter along with you. This place was massive. How were you going to find your room? You looked down at the pavement underfoot and then reached into your pocket and pulled out the small amethyst gemstone your mum had given you that morning. "This is for luck and calming," she said to you in her sweet, soft voice. "While there are a few other stones out there that can reduce your anxiety levels, I feel like amethyst aligns with your spirit the best, and I feel like many crystal healers would agree with me." She then wrapped you in her warmest hug. Her homemade perfume of sandalwood and vanilla mixed with the essence of burnt sage filled your whole being with comfort. Your mum was the sweetest, most gentle soul on this planet. She had been a gypsy before she had met your dad, travelling from here to there as a crystal healer and naturopath, as well as having the quirk ability to read auras, which also made her a bit of a clairvoyant. She had met your dad when the caravan got stuck deep in the mountains and she had to stay there for a few weeks. Naturally, she had set up her own herbal garden in the forest to survive, and her skills and gentle nature had piqued his interest. He admitted that he had watched her for a little bit before approaching her in his human form, but she had still called him out straight away. You always loved hearing the story of how they had met. "Tell me again, Mum, what did Dad say to you?" you asked as you sat at the oak-carved kitchen bench, watching your mum brew some homemade tea. "Don't tell her, Sugar, it's embarrassing." Your dad had cut in with a gentle sigh, his back turned to you as he packed some things away in the kitchen. You gave the back of your dad a sly smirk and looked towards your mum again. "Come on, Mum, tell me." He had stepped out of the bush, looking as handsome as ever, your mum started to say while you giggled quietly. A lady such as yourself shouldn't be here alone in the woods, your mum said, while you repeated those words along with her, having heard this story 1,000,000 times before and loving every word of dialogue, so much so that you'd committed it to memory. "Oh, you even remember it, Petal," your dad said with surprise, turning his head to look at you, a surprise swirling in his rich green eyes. "Of course," you said with a chuckle. "This is my favourite story of all time." He smiled softly and shook his head as he turned away from you again and picked out the chopping board and knife to chop the root vegetables for the afternoon snack. "So," your mum continued, "I then asked him why he had been watching me for so long before showing himself, if he was so concerned for my safety in the woods." "Well, I didn't know that you'd seen me," your dad replied defensively. "If I'd known, I may have come out earlier." "Your heart and your mind were at war," your mum replied wisely. "It was your heart that finally moved your feet." "And then what did you say, Dad?" you asked eagerly, swinging your legs back and forth with anticipated excitement as you sat and waited for him to tell the next part of the story. "Then she just straight up called me a fairy," your dad admitted with surprise. You burst into a fit of giggles and your dad smirked. "There's no fooling your mum, she knows everything," he admitted as he leaned across and kissed her on the temple. "And then what did you say, Mum? Tell me again, please tell me again," you begged. "I asked why a fairy would be interested in knowing what a human woman was doing deep in the woods." she said calmly, as she finished pouring the hot water over the tea leaves and then lifted the remaining tea leaves out of the pot, wrapping them in a muslin cloth. I was hoping to come in and be the Prince Charming, your dad admitted, but she took all the wind from my sails and I was left standing there with my mouth open and eyeballs hanging from their sockets. You giggled again. Your mum was wise, kind, and knew all. There was no way your dad ever stood a chance of sneaking up on her and trying to woo her. Dearest, your mum said to your dad as he reached into the cupboard and pulled out 3 handmade pottery mugs. Look at your beauty. No human male could look as good as you. Anyone would know that you are not pure human. She stepped gently across to him and reached a hand to his cheek, caressing it lovingly and then sliding her fingers further up to trace along the lightly pointed tips of his ears, a dead giveaway that his origin was of the fair folk. Your father hailed from a long line of fae folk. From what you knew, all of his family members were fairy, but for some reason he was able to assume human form for an indefinite amount of time. You had seen him resume his fairy form from time to time, shrinking down to the size of just taller than a sparrow and glowing an iridescent green colour. Not all fairies glowed, you knew this, and rumours and legends had been told that he had been gifted special powers by an elderly elf who had seen something special in him. This is also what your mother had perceived in him. She had told you she couldn't tell exactly what had happened, but she could tell a powerful magic had been placed on him from a young age. Which now begged the question, what did that make you? With your mum being pure human, and your dad being pure fairy, but with the ability to hold human form? Well, you aligned more with your dad. You were also fairy, but your DNA results said that you were exactly 50% human and 50% fairy. In your human form, you looked completely human, but with maybe just a slightly pointed ear, but not enough for it to be super noticeable. You also had flecks of green in your eyes, another trait of your fairy ancestors, who all had green eyes. In your fairy form, your ears pointed and your eye colour turned into an iridescent green. You too glowed a little green, but it wasn't as bright as your dad's glow. Your outfit also changed from when you were in human form. It was always the same one in fairy form. Didn't matter what you had been in when in human form, the minute you activated your quirk, your outfit changed to your standard fairy outfit, without shoes. You didn't mind though, it was a cute outfit. It's kinda a good thing that you couldn't hold your fae form for very long, 1 hour tops, that way you didn't get tired of your look. But that was the least thing on your mind now that you'd stepped inside of the prestigious UA. You'd always admired the heroes on TV and had expressed an interest in following in their footsteps. Both your parents had backed you immediately, and this is why you were now walking the hallowed steps to the entrance of the building. Entering into the hall, you walked to the board that would show you where to go. Class 1B, 1B. You thought as your eyes scanned the board in front of you, while you rolled a little amethyst gem over in the palm of your hand. Where is it? First day's going to be great, huh? A voice said from beside you, and you looked to your left and froze. There, grinning at you, was a really cute guy with blonde hair and a jet black lightning bolt through the fringe. He was so cute that it completely stole your voice from you, and all you could do was stare. Which class are you in? He asked casually. You're real cute. We should hang out sometime. Again, you couldn't speak, and instead found yourself suddenly staring down at your shoes as your heart started to race in your chest. Excuse me, another voice said, and you looked up to see another guy addressing the cute blonde. That was your cue to escape, and you quickly turned yourself into a fairy and took off at the speed of light. The blonde and the other guy chatted for a quick second, and then the other excused himself, and the blonde turned back to where you had been, with the intention of continuing his chat with you, but was surprised to find you'd gone. What? He exclaimed with surprise, looking all around himself, but you were nowhere to be seen. Damn, he thought to himself as he pushed his hands into his pockets and started to walk away from the board. She was really super cute. I didn't even get a name though. And there it is, the end of chapter 1 for Cute Little Love Letters. I'll see you tomorrow for chapter 2.